So, all right, boys, look, we need to know, we need to figure out how England are going to line up, how they're going to play at the World Cup, right? Tuchel's been tinkering, he's been trying to figure out what his best team is. Between the two of you guys, what do we think that looks like?
Cams, we're going to get into it. We're going to have fun. As I said earlier, great minds think alike. And when I look at Thomas Tuchel, England have never had a problem with talent. Structurally has been the issue. I think he has found a freedom within a framework. I do think we play a high pressing system. We and you were speaking off camera, and we'll get into it in a moment, about inverted fullbacks. Should we start there when we get into the 11? What's our first port of call?
I mean, first and foremost, who do you think is going to be the 11? You know, who is going to be?
Should we start with the easiest one then, Cam? So that's Pickford in goal.
100%. I think that's an absolute lock-in.
Would it be fair to say John Stones?
I think John Stones, for the experience.
Are we going Gurhey or Konza?
I think he's going to go with Gahey. I think it's going to be Gahey.
So you guys, off the bat there, you guys feel very comfortable with the idea that the two centre-backs are pretty much
don't play
a very
around with your
simple
centre-halves.
discussion.
I think John Stones has been very consistent for England over the years, you know, going back probably since the 2018 World Cup. And then you look at Mark Gahey, arguably England's best player at the Euros in the last tournament. So I think he's earned his place in the team. Very tough with Konsa, because Konsa's ever reliable as well. But I think Mark Gahey gets the nod in that one. I know John Stones, for the experience, gets it.
In Gahey, are we looking at a future England captain?
I think there's options, to be honest. I think you're looking at Declan Rice is a potential option.
Declan twice.
Bukayo Saka is a potential option. He's somebody that plays pretty much every game if he's going to be fit.
Decisive.
Jude Bellingham, I know there's a bit of up and down going on right now with the Thomas Tuchel decision making, which we're going to get into. But he gives that captain kind of leadership kind of vibe as well. So I'm looking at them probably before I'd be looking at Mark Gahey at the moment.
Got it. All right, let's get into the rest of the team.
So, Cams, we've focused on the centre halves and we focused on Pickford. I think the fullbacks is a tough one. Where are we going with right back? Are you a Trent man? Are you a Walker man if he was to get called up? Or for me, I'm going James.
Yeah, I think I'll go Reece James as well. I think Reece James at the moment has an odd. Trent can't stay fit. Don't think he's having the greatest time at Real Madrid at the moment.
Injured at the moment again.
And if you're looking for more of like a complete package, somebody that can defend but also go forward and offer that overlap that Bukayo Saka is going to desperately need, I think it's Reece James at this minute. And he also has the ability to, you know, come into the midfield zones, and that which Maresca is exploiting at the moment.
Did well against us at club level.
Exactly. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking Reece James is probably the option, but fitness is obviously permitted.
I just wanted to say as well, it's very interesting that you guys are discussing this, because it almost felt like in the last tournament and the previous years, Miles, I don't know if you agree, but the Trent-Reece debate always rumbled on. And there was almost a point where we thought it shouldn't be a debate. Trent is the outstanding unicorn and generational player. But all of a sudden the tables are flipped and Trent is finding himself unable to find a home in this squad, and Reece James is very much ending up being a real solution for this team.
That's a side note I wanted to ask Cams, because we both agreed that we'll go with Reece James. For me, I do think you have to bring Trent more so with the latter stages, just because the likes of him, the Cole Palmers, the Phil Fodens, they might not necessarily be in the strongest 11. But as the tournament goes on, these are tools that can unpick locks and get you out of jail. Yeah. But that's just what I wanted to say. And like, I just wanted to ask you, do you think Trent will be on the plane?
I think he should be on the plane. I think you can't leave that type of quality at home. You know, I think Livramento's great. I don't know how many he's going to bring, but because Livramento can play both sides, he can kind of do like what Kieran Trippier was doing over the last few years. Jed Spence as well. But that type of quality that Trent has, you know, I think you have to take him personally.
That was actually going to be my question, is do you bring him? Because he's not having the best of times at Real Madrid. And just because you've gone to Real Madrid doesn't mean you're a cert for your national team, right? We've seen, you know, when he played against Liverpool, you know, he came on, didn't play very well. So I just wonder, with Reece James's uptake in form, massive uptake in form, really dragging Chelsea to that, you know, to that draw against Arsenal, whether he is the player who really needs to be.
But you know, we need to remember with Reece James as well, as much as I believe in him, this is a marathon. There's more games and more teams. We know with Reece James, he can't really, it's not that he can't stay fit. We're going to have to manage his load, essentially. Yeah. So as the tournament goes on, you're going to need someone else. I don't think it will be Trent, but I just think Reece James won't play all the time. But that's the number one. So if we progress this to left back, then don't really care who goes left back, whether it's Lewis Skelly, O'Reilly, etc. But Camps, talk to me. This is what we was keen to speak
Well,
about.
before we get into that, I just want to remind the viewers at home, we're just under 30 minutes away from the official draw kicking off. And don't forget, you can watch the draw itself on ITVX by going to the link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen below. But I'm a bit biased. I think you should stick with us and hear about our insight from World Cup. Camps, take us away.
Left back.
I mean, the left back options, I think it's funny because if you go back 6 months ago, you would have been saying it's Miles Lewis-Skelly. But football moves quickly. You know,
O'Reilly's the man at the moment.
You know, as we're knowing about Kobbie Mainoo as well, you'd have thought he would have been here. He's probably not. So Miles Lewis-Skelly and Kobbie Mainoo are two players that are in interesting positions at the moment. Jed Spence has played in the left back a few times. You've had Livramento. There's still Lewis Hall. There's O'Reilly, who's playing weekly for Manchester City at the moment. So, and then, you know, it's a tournament year. So you know what that means? It means Luke Shaw is on the form of his life.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what it means.
Death,
So,
taxes, and Luke Shaw at a tournament.
exactly.
Why
So far, Thomas Tuchel hasn't called up Luke Shaw, but listen, he rises from the dead like the Undertaker. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about it right now, and I think if he wants to go for experience, maybe he's looking at Shaw. But I think he has given O'Reilly the nod in the last few games, so I think he might stick with O'Reilly in that position.
And me and you spoke about it. It's not necessarily a guarantee that either Reece James or whoever is left back are going to invert. But O'Reilly has been a man in form, and we'll discuss this a bit more. But we want to see him driving, whether he collects the ball from Stones into there, and then we'll get onto it. But brings in the Harry Kanes and whatnot. I did want to ask you, Cams, before we progress here. Do you think, because you touched on it, do you think the inexperience of an O'Reilly, of a Lewis-Skelly, of a Hall, we know their abilities out of question, but in tournament football, do you think that's a weak spot for us?
I mean, in tournaments, these are the times where people become experienced. This is the time where you become, reliable for your nation. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to play them. You know, I'm not afraid to play them. If it's O'Reilly, if it's Miles, if it's Lewis Hall or Livramento, he's not the most experienced either. So or Jed Spence. So I don't see it as a point of weakness. I see it as a point of excitement, in your enthusiasm. You're going to come with that youth. You're going to come with that, you know, that drive, as you're saying, that athleticism. So I'm not really afraid of playing young players in tournaments. You know, we just seen Lamine. I know these guys ain't Lamine Yamal, but at 16 years old, took over a tournament. We've seen Wayne Rooney do it. We've seen Michael Owen do it.
We've seen Saka do it last couple tournaments.
Jude Bellingham, we've seen it. This is what England do. So I'm not really afraid of the left back position.
So that's the back four sorted. Miles, we're going into a pretty important part of it. Some might say the engine room where tournaments are won.
Absolutely.
How important do you think the midfield is going to be for England?
For England, absolutely key.
And for Tuchel.
And for Tuchel, he has to get this right. And it's funny you've mentioned that left-back position where it's like almost a free hit. But I wonder whether this whole tournament you feel is a free hit or not for Thomas Tuchel. Is it one that he really needs to get to a place of winning it or getting very, very close? But with that as well, we'll also get into our midfield.
Thomas Tuchel is here on an 18-month contract, which means, you know, it's one tournament and he needs to win it. I mean, that's the reality. You know, exactly. England are going into that tournament to win it, and England have the squad capable of winning it. So there's, for me, the midfield area, which we're going to get into, this is where England lose every tournament. In my opinion, it's that part of the pitch.
So how are we lining up then?
Well, the easiest one is going to be obviously Declan twice. 100%.
Covers two positions.
Covers every position. Man, Puskas nominee. Make sure Arsenal fans you're voting. He's going to win us this World Cup.
We're not biased.
We're not biased at all. Yeah, we are. So yeah, Declan Rice is in there. Am I right in suggesting, boys, that it's Elliot Anderson's spot to lose?
At the moment, with how Thomas Tuchel is talking about him, he's talking about him as like basically his complete midfielder at the moment. The player that's going to be able to get the ball off the back four, but also you'll see him popping up on the edge of the box as well. He's got that kind engine.
Dual roles with
exactly. He's got the engine, you know, and he's having a really good season with Nottingham Forest at the moment. So I think it, you know, there's still Adam Wharton, who I think is a really, really good player.
He's going to be needed.
You know, but I think, you know, it will be Elliot Anderson at this moment.
And I guess that's vindication. I guess it's also very interesting from Thomas Tuchel that he's not really looking at the name brands. Like he's actually looking at what makes the team tick and what gives the team
structure over talent,
most of the balance here, which is pretty impressive. So I'm wondering what his role in the team allows Declan Rice to do specifically. So what does Elliot Anderson coming in allow Declan Rice to do?
Cams, me and you, let's do this. Me personally, I think I'm more than welcome to say this. Obviously, we could invert and attack down this right-hand side, and there could be overloads. We know what Bukayo Saka can do inverting. We all know Rashford coming in behind. Whoever is left back, if we do choose to invert, this is where your Lewis Hall driving with the ball in midfield. Elliot Anderson offering a passing lane. Your Declan Rice running in behind. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but whether this is Rashford or Gordon, they're involved. We know Kane is going to invert. So that's where I think it will come from. But equally, we can't just put Elliot Anderson down as that. He does go forward. He does win the ball high up the field. And when we're in this kind of half pocket, he will act like the centre-halves will be there if we pretend those are centre-halves. And you've got Elliot Anderson. He's like a hub. They bounce it off him, we'll go left and right. But we've got Anderson, we've got Rice.
I think the thing is, I think it's important to know that at international level, it's a lot different than club level. So when you look at the Premier League, what England have tried to do in some tournaments is play to Premier League pace at international level. It never happens, right? So I do think the marauding Declan Rice that we see at Arsenal is not necessarily the case, though. That's why I disagree a little bit, where I don't know if it's going to be the same Declan Rice that you're seeing them left spaces at Arsenal bombing up and down, because the game just doesn't move at that tempo. It's a lot slower at this level, which is why I think Elliot Anderson's role in this team is probably going to be the most important of the three.
That's why I think you'll see, and again, Cams is right, they will alternate. Like, you will see both bombing in behind. And you mentioned Declan Rice, and you're right. If you watch the last 2 games for Arsenal, he has obviously got in behind. He does do everything. But he has kind of been that protection in a central area. And you made a great point, which is the best point that's been said at the moment. International football and club football are very different. We have been accused at times of square pegs within round holes, which is why I'm a big fan of Thomas Tuchel prioritising structure over individuals. So that's our pivot. I know everyone wants to get into, the 10 role. Is it Foden? Is it Rodgers? Is it Bellingham?
Well, we're looking for an entertainer. And speaking of entertainment, Nicole Scherzinger and Robbie Williams are putting me in a 2008 fever dream. They're on stage right now in Washington. Robbie Williams, well, could he bring some creativity to this? Could Robbie do a job for us in the Den, brother?
By the way, that venue is stunning.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the Kennedy Center has done it only how the Americans know how. But you were talking about, back to this team, you were talking about the engine room here. This position here is probably the most contested and most debated position in the tournament. Does Tuchel stick or twist? Does he go full creative? Does he lock it down and make that team fully physical? Where do you see this lining up?
This is an interesting one because, there's a debate about, Eze. He's just got his big move to Arsenal. You look at Cole Palmer, one of the best players in the Premier League. You look at Foden. And he's had a resurgence this season as well. And then obviously you look at Jude Bellingham. But in and amongst all these names I just mentioned, it's Morgan Rodgers who has the nod at the moment. It's Morgan Rodgers who has the trust of Thomas Tuchel. So this has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works where everybody thought it's just going to be a Jude Bellingham situation. He didn't get called up at one occasion. Phil Foden didn't get a call up. Obviously, Palmer hasn't really linked up yet because of injuries. So right now, it's actually Morgan Rodgers had the nod. But if it was me, I would probably still go with a Jude Bellingham in there. Only because I think out of all the three that are, all the options that are there, he's probably the best one that can form a 4-3-3. There's going to be occasions where, he's going to be in the 10 role, but there's going to be times where England are going to have to defend. They are going to have to defend as in a flat 4, and I think Jude Bellingham's probably the most suited to that as well. So I will go Jude, but I do think there's some tension going on at the moment.
Do you think it's Rodgers to lose?
At this moment, it is.
And Miles, I want to come to you and figure out, how important is it to find the right fit versus how important is it to choose someone with the personality to play in the biggest game?
Yeah.
Because I think with tournament football, sometimes you need someone that can rise to the occasion. But Thomas Tuchel seems to go to the approach of, I want the best person for the best system.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, in that role, it's so key and so important that, England does have that creative player who can change a game. And it's just so funny that we're talking about the team so far, and this seems to be the most interchangeable position. We don't know whether it will be Jude or someone like, Morgan Rodgers. It's obviously vital for England, and I think the boys can't quite decide who it needs to be,
It's also like you're looking at somebody that's going to just unlock defenses. I think you're looking at someone like a Cole Palmer, right? And if you want that dribbling ability, then maybe you're looking like an Eze or maybe a Phil Foden. But I think just a little balance of everything, I think that might be a Jude Bellingham situation. Phil Foden, as good as he is, as talented as he is, I think of all of them, you might argue he's the most talented. But what he's done in the England shirt hasn't really been up to scratch. So I think he'll be a little bit further down in the pecking order. And I think, as I said, I think there's something going on at the moment with Jude and Thomas Tuchel, but I would be going with Jude Bellingham.
Well, I want to throw to now probably the most important position and probably the most debatable position. We have no idea who's going to take this spot. Who's playing number 9 for England?
It's got to be Keza, innit? Harry Kane.
Keza.
First name, nickname, basis.
Well, he technically came through Arsenal's academy despite his Spurs ties, man. So I'll always push that agenda. But yeah, it's got to be Kane. It's got to be Kane. I think more of an interesting debate, and I don't know how far you lot want to go, is does Tuchel take another striker, or who is the number 2 in command if it's not Kane? But that's an easy pick. We're all going with Kane, right?
Nah, that's easy.
And we've actually got a question from the chat. Now, remember, thank you for sending in your questions. Remember, you can be throwing in your questions to us throughout the discussion, and we'll pick the best ones and make sure we discuss them. We've just got a question for you that says, who is the best backup for Kane? We've got some great strikers, we've got depth, but when Kane needs to come off, who's going to fill his boots?
Yep.
Who are you going with?
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I think it's Ollie Watkins as well. I don't think it's going to end up being like Ivan Toney or anything like that. Watkins hasn't had the greatest season as of yet.
And he's carrying a knock
but
as well.
You know when the temperature drops in the winter, Ollie Watkins comes alive.
Yeah.
You're about to see streaky Watkins, winter Watkins. He's probably going to score like 10 goals in his
Winter Watkins.
We're coining it.
Yeah, he's going to score about 10 goals in his next like 8 games.
Yeah.
That's the type of player that
Did
he
quite
is.
well midweek as well.
Yeah, and you know what? He's a complete different option to Harry Kane, and I think that's what's important. Kane is going to drop deep. Kane is going to get on the ball, swing some long field passes to Bukayo Saka and stuff. And defenders may think sometimes they're going to be playing against... They're not going to play against Harry Kane because he's not going to be there. But then when Ollie Watkins come on, as we saw against Netherlands, give me the ball in behind. Just slide that pass. He's going to be onto everything, and he adds that extra bit of intensity. So I would still be going with Ollie Watkins, but this start of the season has been a little bit not the best. And I heard he's got a knee injury at the moment, but I think he'll be back and he'll back to scoring goals very soon.
Very quickly. This is Kane here, right?
Yeah, because he's going to drop into these.
I was going to say he's that position where he was there. He was so deep.
But that's the difference with Harry Kane.
And it's obviously it's what we've seen from him as he ages.
Kane's going to drop in. You're going to have either side running in behind. But that's just to reiterate Cam's point. Obviously, with Watkins, he's not really interested in that. I know in the modern day you have to. He wants to bomb in behind. Like if you watched Aston Villa midweek, you would have seen them Aston Villa do that against Brighton. That's where Ollie Watkins comes into his own. And I have to remind everybody listening, not you guys, this is a tournament. All of these players are pieces to the puzzle. What might win you the first game week might not necessarily win it the second. That's kind of my thing, going back to right back around Trent. But yeah, that's the striker situation.
Well, we're just under 20 minutes away from the draw kicking off, but we've got plenty more to discuss, including England's wide positions. So Harry Kane's there, Watkins for backup. Who are we going for in the wide positions? Let's talk about the right-hand side.
You know, there's sometimes I feel like people try and create a debate out of this situation. They try to say, maybe you can play Cole Palmer on the right-hand side, or you could play... That is Bukayo Saka's position, right? For England, Bukayo Saka is very, very reliable. He's performed in multiple tournaments. And in fact, of just being, you know what it is? Just being the safety pass as well. I always look at Bukayo Saka and I say he's a safety pass. If you're in trouble, pass the ball to Saka. He back to goal, he'll keep the ball, you know, he'll win a free kick, he'll do what he needs to do. Very safe. And I look at him a bit like I think he's kind of taken up this kind of like wide playmaker kind of role lately. And I think he's going to be touchline, and as I said, just that safe pass, and linking up with the Reece James who will be getting on, because Saka requires attention, right? People double up on him, so that means there's going to be
that's where your
free
midfield runners come into.
So I think it's definitely Bukayo Saka.
Saka definitely requires attention. One other figure that definitely requires attention.
What is going
is on screen now.
What is going on
award,
here?
But we're not here for those sorts of awards. We're here for the who's going to pick up the gold medal in the FIFA World Cup final. That's what we're here interested in. So you guys are sure on fire about Saka. What do you think that says about a man that at one point was considered like this young, friendly, neighbourhood little brother? Everyone really took to him like that. It seems like after going back-to-back for England's Player of the Year, he's taken on a mantle where he's willing to carry the pressure for a side like England. What do you think about that?
I think people look at Saka and don't, like, you're right, he's like everyone's little brother and stuff. Don't let the smile fool you. He wants all the smoke, he wants all the pressure, he wants all the attention, and he delivers. He's done it in 2 Euros. He did it in the last semi-finals against France. And as Cam said, he's a focal point. If he's being marked against and doubled up against, that brings other players into play and it helps alleviate pressure. Not to mention his link-up play with Kane, not to mention him cutting in onto that left-hand side. I know we're probably not going to see Trent, but even in a couple of friendlies before Tuchel, we saw them two connecting down that side. And Reece James is a quality player. I don't like his team that he plays for. Them two linking up is going to be amazing. And we've also got to remember, the Declan Rices, the Harry Kanes, the Bukayo Sakas, they're all part of the leadership group for England. So it goes without saying they're going to stop.
Saka told you he wants to smoke, yeah?
Yeah, he wants it. He wants it. My team wants it. My team wants it.
My team Arsenal.
I just wanted to know, you guys spoke.
I mean, you lot support Man United, don't you?
Don't worry.
Is Jadon Sancho still there? That's one man not coming on the plane. One man.
That's the Villa man over there behind the camera.
Speaking of Man United
Do we have
via
to?
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Who is going on the other wing? I think for me, there's only one, but you guys are the tactical.
It's funny. It's actually funny, this left-hand side, because I feel like a lot of fans want it to be Marcus Rashford, but
So does CJ. I heard
but I still don't know if it's going to be Rashford 100%. Now, if it was me, it would be Marcus Rashford, as I said, but I'm speaking as a fan as well. But I do think that Thomas Tuchel has a liking to Anthony Gordon.
Exactly.
I really do. And, some people might say Eze. I don't think it will be Eze. I actually think he has a liking to Anthony Gordon. So this one is a toss-up. And I think it's the one position in the England team which I think is like, as maybe the left-hand side, maybe even the left-back, where we're just really uncertain as to who's going to play. I would go with Marcus Rashford, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if it's Anthony Gordon.
And Cams, do you know why Anthony Gordon's a weird one? Yeah, because obviously some players don't necessarily perform for their club. They're indifferent like Anthony Gordon, but anytime he's been selected with Tuchel, he's not let him down. That is something managers are going to bear in mind. So I make you right. I do think us fans would love Rashford. I'd nudge it towards Rashford. I think Gordon will be in the squad.
I think sometimes, though, like, you get situations where it's like, oh, this guy hasn't let me down, but have you turned it up? Have you lit the place on fire? Anthony Gordon hasn't. Has he?
He has in an English shirt. In an English shirt. Look
okay,
at his goal scoring record. Can we get the statistics? Anybody?
Has he turned it up? He's really.
And I'm not even his biggest fan. Like, I just think Gordon will be on the plane.
He'll be on the plane.
I was even gonna push some agendas. Do you get an Eze in there? Do you get a Madueke? But we're not gonna do that. I do think it's between Rashford and Gordon. For me, it is Rashford because of what he gives you in behind, especially if Kane is going to drop and Saka's going to invert. But it's like what you said. Generally, that left-hand side is really undecided.
For me, like at tournament football as well, sometimes you need something that sometimes you need somebody that can do something out of nothing. And I think that's what Marcus Rashford offers.
X factor.
That X factor, exactly. You look at the goal against Newcastle, for example. That little moment where you just get on the ball, take a shot, a free kick potentially. I look at Marcus Rashford a little bit more magic than I look at an Anthony Gordon.
And he could be in a better headspace after leaving Manchester United as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.